What is happening with Simba Chikanza is really pathetic, and it is very painful to watch somebody degenerating into becoming someone who is driven by hate. I want to give you three comparisons of what Simba Chikanza said and in his articles versus Hopewell Chin'ono and other people that he is also accusing without evidence, and is just going on a smear campaign, which I don't understand where is this zeal coming from or where this strength is coming from. Firstly, he accuses Hopewell Chin'ono of running a scam in the 90s, which led him to buy a house when he was 29. And in his submission in these articles, he says that Hopewell Chin'ono was covering up for the scams that he was doing in the 90s when he was 29 years old. Some of you know that Hopewell Chin'ono came out when these accusations were leveled against him, and he said everything, that he bought a car when he was 25, and he got advice that don't do this, rather buy a house. And he went and applied for a loan. First, for him to get a house, he applied for a loan at Kebs, and then he also then applied a loan at Barclays, and he bought a house where he is staying in, which is in Chisipiti. And according to Simba Chikanza, Hopewell Chin'ono was using the money from scams, right? Then the question now is, if there be scams that Hopewell Chin'ono was running in the 90s, the question that is not answered in this is that why is not Hopewell Chin'ono arrested in the UK? The second issue is, if Hopewell Chin'ono was involved in money laundering activities, why is Simba Chikanza not reporting? Because according to the law, for prosecution to happen, the prosecution must prove that the person accused of money laundering knew or suspected that the property is a criminal property. And this continues further on to say that they must think there is a possibility which is more than fanciful that the relevant facts exist. A vague feeling of unease is not sufficient. As we are all aware of, the former Chelsea owner Roman Abramovich was accused of supporting the war in Ukraine in 2022, and it did not take time before his properties were seized and Chelsea was forced to be sold. And this happened right before our eyes. And the question is, why hasn't this happened to Hopewell Chin'ono yet by the UK authorities, according to Simba Chikanza? And where is the evidence? There is no evidence that he can prove that Hopewell Chin'ono was running that. And number two, he does not articulate in certain terms that these are the scams that Hopewell Chin'ono was doing, and there is evidence, there are articles of him doing that. Because if you know that there are scams that somebody has been running, surely you should be having some form of evidence of where this is happening, whether it is a newspaper article, whether it is somebody who is a witness. He does not provide that. He only says Hopewell Chin'ono was doing this in the UK, and that was the journalism was just a cover-up. Furthermore, the article by the UK government of 2001 clearly states that there has been a system put in place in order to apprehend or to catch criminals that come into the UK with misrepresentation. How is it that they have not yet caught Hopewell Chin'ono since 2001, according to what Mr. Chikanza alleges? Then secondly, he then alleges that Hopewell Chin'ono was molesting some women and covering that up whilst in the 90s. And then he says there are credible sources that can back that up. And in his submission, there is no source, there is no name, there is no article that can back that up to say Hopewell Chin'ono was doing this in this particular year and this is the source. No evidence whatsoever. He just comes out and says he was molesting so and so, he was doing this and this and this and this. In 2022, I actually had an interview with Linda Masarira. There was a lady who was based in the UK who came out and said also that she had an issue with Hopewell Chin'ono when he was incarcerated, that Hopewell Chin'ono molested her and all of that. And I asked her, do you have evidence? Can you prove this? Have you reported this, in the courts that this is what happened? The only thing that she could do was to, state things that never happened. And these are some of the things that, like, you wonder, why are people doing this? And what then even surprises me the most is that if Simba Chikanza has got so much evidence, overwhelming evidence, and they are witnesses, why are they not approaching whether Zimbabwean courts? Why are they not approaching UK courts? The reason why these things are happening is because they are no victims. If they be there, why are they not approaching the courts and give their oral testimony? There are so many people who have been arrested. You know the story of Harvey Weinstein, that he was arrested, and you know the story of R. Kelly with all these stories that are happening to him. If my brother Hopewell Chin'ono is indeed guilty, the people will be coming to testify. Why not Simba Chikanza array or align these people to come and testify and give a testimony against Hopewell Chin'ono? That is the second thing. And then the last thing that made me to do this is the story of Dr. Maboreke. Dr. Maboreke is one of the people that has been named by Hopewell Chin'ono, that he also was saying that he will be helping or assisting patients that cannot afford health care from different parts of the country, which we know there were people that then went and started investigating until Hopewell Chin'ono then pulled out of that system that he had created. Some of you are aware of that. But then what then happens was, in all this, Simba Chikanza then pulls out an audio saying that Dr. Maboreke had complained about Hopewell Chin'ono's attitude, and pulled out an audio of what he recorded in 2023, and pulled that audio as evidence of Dr. Maboreke unhappy with Hopewell Chin'ono and claiming that Hopewell Chin'ono was running things behind his back and all of that. And Dr. Maboreke then came back out and said, but Simba Chikanza, when you called me a year back, and you're now pulling this as evidence of what is happening now, and you are misleading the public by telling them that I am anti or I'm against what Hopewell Chin'ono is doing, or I'm not aware of Hopewell Chin'ono's program. He does not back it up with evidence. Clearly humiliated by this series of tweets that Dr. Maboreke then pulls out. Why am I also doing this, you might ask? I've been approached by a number of people asking me, as an information bearer or as a journalist or somebody who has been credible for quite some time in this field. People come to me, can you verify this evidence? You'd imagine people from my church coming to me and saying, can you tell us, is really Apostle Chiwenga divorced? And you say, guys, this is unsubstantiated information. It is not backed up with facts. It's information that is just spreading out there with no source. And if it be that Apostle Chwenga is divorced, please show us some form of evidence. And I've done this, and as a person who would not just believe something from the face value, I've approached some people that I know they are very close to Apostle Chwenga, and they told me, look, this guy is just hallucinating, and you'd imagine what kind of panic that it would cause to some believers, one who might not be having access to information. Anonkonzi nomomon oneka pastor wenyu akadivorce, and this is doing damage reputation to a ministry which of course is serving a lot of people. I would understand that people who are like Apostle Chwenga or even Hopewell Chin'ono, they are public figures and they should be unfazed by these smear campaigns. But I would imagine the feeble or the weaker brethren in the church would feel, or would how it will make them feel when somebody approaches them with a newspaper article. Look, Apostle Chwenga vakadivorce, vakatosiyana nemukadzi, and all of that. So that is also the reason why I had to do it, because I have been approached by a lot of people. What is going on? Apostle. And I want to play you a video that can explain why some of you have not seen Apostle Chwenga since the prayer retreat. That prayer retreat, he was there, he was strong. But I want you to know that in a way, he was also not well, because he mentioned it, that he had to undergo some medical attention at this particular point. And for him to be with us on that particular prayer retreat, it was a miracle. And you wonder, probably somebody's paying him, and you wonder, what is the jealousy? What does he intend to achieve in this? And there is someone, Simba Chikanza, look at the following that he has on X Twitter, 427,000 followers. Go on his Facebook, 500,000 followers. And there are people who look up to him as a bearer of news. And this is what he produces, a vendetta against someone which is not backed up with evidence. And there are people who look after him to say, this is a journalist, and this is what he produces. Something that is not backed up with evidence. Just because he's got a hate against someone. And to me, this is really pathetic. And my brother, if you see that you have a problem with someone and you cannot, why do you use your platform to spread hate that is not backed up with evidence? We are people who bring up evidences, and you know that we, as a journalist, you are supposed to bring up sources. Go and read any other article. You can't read 455 paragraphs and there is no attribution of someone. There must be attribution. This is basic journalism. These are basics of journalism that we are taught. But in this case, we find someone not adhering to these teachings and using his own way of doing journalism. And it is a pity that our profession is being taken like this and somebody is using it in order to actually paint a bad picture on us, because people will say, I'm a journalist, you are the journalist. And when people are saying they are the journalists, they are looking at Simba Chikanza. Very, very pathetic. But tell me what you think about all these things that are happening with Simba Chikanza. To me, it is very, very disturbing and it is very, very annoying. And as a role model to many young journalists that are getting to school and looking up to him as a bearer of news, he should be very more careful on the way how he approaches this profession. Otherwise, it makes us to look like we are just playing, and we are not supposed to be taken seriously.